Good evening and welcome to Up South. Our top story this evening is from Telangana, where the spread of swine flu, according to doctors, has reached epidemic proportions. This after 220 positive cases of swine flu have been reported only in the first 3 weeks of January in Telangana state. In fact, 50 of them were reported yesterday on the 20th of January. An SOS has been sent by the Telangana government to the Union Health Ministry, and Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao even called up Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking urgent help.
The overriding emotion at the isolation ward at Hyderabad's Gandhi Hospital is one of apprehension. Shankar's 32-year-old brother, a shopkeeper in the outskirts of Hyderabad, has been admitted since Tuesday after he was diagnosed with swine flu. Shankar is distraught because doctors have told him that chances of his brother surviving are slim.
वैक्सीन लिखे तो हम नीचे से लाके उनको दिया, जब इलाज हो रहा अंदर, और उसके बाद में क्या होता भरोसा नहीं है बोल के डॉक्टर लोग बोल रहे बराबर वैक्सीन नहीं है, हम क्या करना ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा.
January has seen dramatic increase in the number of swine flu cases in Telangana. 221 in the first 20 days. The swine flu testing lab in Hyderabad found 50 positive cases on Tuesday. That made the health authorities sit up and take notice. Doctors attribute it to low temperatures. They say the Sankranti festival season that saw large crowds also helped the spread of the virus.
The burden on hospital staff has gone up with the dramatic increase in number of swine flu cases. With the number seeing a spiral in January, the Telangana government has sent an SOS to the Union Health Ministry for help.
We want to expand the isolation ward. We are identified the 10 beds in the disaster ward. Why means this is also medical, biological disaster we are thinking. So we are extending the 10 more beds, but 10 patients are already suspected. So we want to plan for one new ward for this H1N1 or suspected bilateral pneumonias.
One minister has been appointed in charge of each district to coordinate efforts to contain swine flu. The attempt is also to ensure that public does not panic.
So whatever it may be, we are handling with care and we are taking every precaution to get the cases and isolated and treated. We are having sufficient medicines also.
Meanwhile, doctors have advised people in Telangana to get vaccination for swine flu, available for 450 rupees. With Ratnika Sharma and T.S. Sudhir in Hyderabad, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Joining me from Hyderabad's Yashoda Hospital is Dr. H. Guru Prasad. Also, my colleague Ratnika Sharma joins us from Gandhi Hospital in Hyderabad. Dr. Guru Prasad, to you first. 221 cases reported in the first 3 weeks of January, and the statistics say 50 of them tested positive yesterday, 25 of them tested positive day before yesterday. The government of Telangana seems to have pressed the panic button. Do you think citizens of Telangana have a serious reason to fear?
See, as of now, it is definitely swine flu is reaching epidemic proportions right now. Because the number of people who are getting turning positive on a daily basis. So I think we need to now create, probably the public is already aware, but they need to be more aware about the symptoms, signs of swine flu, so that they can consult a doctor as soon as possible because when swine flu is treated early, it's potentially treatable with medications. And also that people need to be educated about so that you can prevent a secondary attack rate where people keep spreading to other people. That is the most important way of spreading of swine flu.
Dr. Guru Prasad, the Telangana government is considering shutting down primary classes till the 26th of January to prevent person-to-person contact. Now, what would you tell the people? What kind of precautions do the citizens of Telangana need to take now?
Yeah, see, I think one thing is that the government is definitely right in shutting down schools because the illness probably infects children more than adults because of the fact that they have not been, they have not been exposed to the illness previously. The last epidemic was probably 2009 when that was around 5 years back. So any school children who are less than 5 years old have not been exposed to the disease at all. So they are right in shutting down the schools, and that's to reduce the impact because most of the spread occurs from the children to the adults because they catch it from the schools. That's where they are in close contact with the other friends of theirs. So that's definitely good to know. It's a good measure to shut down schools till 26 January.
Ratnika, many of the cases that are coming to different hospitals in Hyderabad, especially Gandhi Hospital, are from rural areas in different districts of Telangana. Now, is there awareness among people there about what kind of precautions they need to take? What would be the different do's and don'ts? What are the people there, the patients, the relatives of patients telling you there at Gandhi Hospital?
Well, actually speaking, Sudhir, there is not much awareness among people regarding swine flu and what are the basic precautions that are needed to be taken. Definitely there's a sense of fear and panic among people because they're actually seeing people dying because of the swine flu, and a lot of them, the relatives they've seen dying, and they're admitted at the Gandhi Hospital in the isolation ward because of swine flu. But when it comes to the actual precautions necessary that are necessary to be taken, people do not know much about it. In fact, I was talking to a lot of people at Gandhi Hospital. All of them are wearing masks, but when I asked them what exactly is swine flu and do they know how to prevent themselves from it, they don't know much about it. They said they are wearing masks because the doctors have told them to, and they have said that there's something wrong with the air, which is why they're supposed to wear masks, and they remove it the moment they're out of the hospital. But when it comes to personal hygiene and sneezing and coughing with a handkerchief, all those kind of precautionary measures people don't know about. On the other hand, the doctors, especially the government doctors, feel that this is the most talked about disease, and so people are actually aware about it, and the regional media has also done a lot. They've made sure that people are aware about it, but definitely the gap there, Sudhir, very evident because people are not that aware about the disease.
Right. Dr. Guru Prasad, one got the impression that after December, the intensity of the swine flu virus will actually decrease. How do you explain the fact that this has seen as upward spiral in the month of January, in the first 3 weeks of January?
Yes, that's true. See, this time I'm not sure because you've seen the minimum temperatures in Hyderabad in the past 1 month. They're the lowest in the recent memory, which people can still recall. So one thing is different that this swine flu virus thrives in cold conditions. But people have an argument that Delhi is colder than Hyderabad. Why not in Delhi then? Why the epidemic in Hyderabad? Probably it's just a matter of chance that Hyderabad is affected by this epidemic. But the persistent cold temperatures in Hyderabad have really helped the virus to multiply and infect more number of people. So that's the only logical explanation I can give to this.
Right. Dr. Guru Prasad from Yashoda Hospital in Hyderabad. Also Ratnika Sharma joining us from Gandhi Hospital in Hyderabad. Thanks a lot for joining us. Of course, Ratnika, it's good to see that people are taking basic safety precautions out there, especially wearing the mask there out there, because it's essentially person-to-person contact that will help spread this disease of swine flu. Thanks a lot for joining us. Tragic news coming from Bengaluru, where a 15-year-old class 10 student committed suicide by jumping off the 15th floor of her apartment complex on Monday. This was after her school had suspended her for 1 day for having a friendship with a student of her own class at the school. The class 10 student was also reprimanded before her mother, who was summoned to the school. The same day, this Monday, the student killed herself. Joining me now from Bengaluru is Meera Sikand, a parent. Also joining me is Dr. Purnima Nagaraja, clinical psychiatrist from Hyderabad. If I may come to you, Meera Sikand, first, an extremely sad case in Bengaluru. This student was suspended for 1 day and she ended up taking this extreme step of killing herself. As a parent, where do you think the school and her parents have gone wrong?
I think the school and parents have gone wrong in the sense they haven't been able to, especially parents I would not blame because they are doing the best for every child like every parent does. And they feel that the school should be like a place where they can, sort of guide the children a little more. And both parents working, they certainly do not have time to find out what is exactly happening to the children. And children, when they come home stressed with, the school stress of grades and everything and doing for homework, they have no other time. Parents don't even have time to find out what happened except to ask, have you finished your homework? What are your grades like? And things like that. So it is up to the up to the teachers to tell the parents what is going wrong, or if they feel, because the ratio between children and teachers should be much more. so that the teachers know each and every child, instead of reprimanding them and then taking action afterwards.
Dr. Purnima Nagaraja, it's a rather sad commentary on both the school as well as the parents that they could not communicate effectively with a 15-year-old girl, a class 10 student, on what kind of a friendship she could possibly have with a fellow student. As a clinical psychiatrist who also deals with a lot of such cases, where do you think we have gone wrong?
The basic attitude itself is wrong, because when you think about children playing with each other as children, we're completely okay with it. In fact, we tease our children, oh, is that your boyfriend or is that your girlfriend? But when they actually reach an age where probably they're a little more interested in the opposite sex, we suddenly, as parents and as an institution, we get really scared. In fact, several schools I have seen, even in a co-education assembly, the girls are asked to look upwards and the boys are asked to look downwards, so they don't even see each other. They're in different rows, and if they even seen talking to each other in the intervals, I think the teachers get very angry and punish the children. On the other hand, even parents, if a girl is seen talking to a boy, the extreme reaction comes out, wherein their cell phones are confiscated, the internet is pulled off, and punishments are given. Children are not sent to school, the schools are changed. So we tend to act in an extreme manner. So both of these are very conflicting to a child, and especially at a teenage where they have their hormonal surges, and all of a sudden the boy next door seems a little more interesting than just the boy next door. Crushes and all these things are common. We know as educated people that these things are common, and yet we react in a very harsh manner. The school authorities should have, in fact, inculcated a healthy boy-girl relationship, explain to the parents that these things happen and that it's not something of alarm, probably counsel both the children about not letting it go too far and let it remain a friendship, or even investigated whether it's a friendship or not. Sometimes it's just a friendship which people misunderstand.
Dr. Purnima, you make very important points there, but in this particular case, the girl also seems to have been emotionally distraught, coming back from school the day she was suspended and taking this extreme step of killing herself. How would you say the young generation should be counseled to handle such emotions in their teens?
Sex education is something, is a word that everybody is afraid of, but that is the most necessary thing, both in institutions and at home. As a culture, we are afraid to talk of sex. We are afraid to talk of anything, as a matter of fact, about boy-girl relationships. But that is most important, and it should be started in childhood, wherein children are taught that, friends are okay, soulmates are also okay, but maybe sexual experimentation and all that is not so okay. And we should also be taught that hormonal surges can tempt you in the opposite direction. If somebody says, I love you, it feels great. But these things should be curtailed, and there should be a healthy relationship and not something that goes into a physical or a sexual exploration. Institutions should also take this on as along with gender sensitization. They should also be taught that boy-girl friendships are okay, and the difference between a friendship, an infatuation, an extended affection, or probably and explain what the so-called love is and how they should handle these things during their academic years.
Meera Sikand, the counsellors, they are saying that the parents should speak to their children at every stage. Do you think that communication has broken down to a large extent, and that's leading to these kind of very tragic situations?
Yeah, the communication has certainly broken down to a large extent, because parents do not have time, besides just because they're both doing a job, and they have to do a job because the cost of living is so much that they have to be able to afford to put children into schools like this, and they feel that the school should be sort of a little more responsive to the needs of children also, and if there are issues, it should be brought up to the parents in time, instead of leaving it for a long time and asking the counsellors to counsel them. I think it's up to the teachers also to a large extent. In fact, I would really like it if the teachers took more responsibility and brought it on to the notice of parents, so that they can take timely action, instead of the child feeling that it has let itself down and let its parents down, because obviously this is a case of where she's feeling as if she's let her parents down and her school down, or the expectations of the child.
You're with Upsouth. Now, for the first time in the history of Chennai's Margari Festival, a group of eminent Carnatic musicians came together to perform for a rather new audience, the fisher folk of Chennai. My colleague Shisha Reddy was listening in to the music as well.
It was was an evening to remember for the fisher folk at Urur Olkot Kuppam, a date with a very different kind of music. Classical musicians T.M. Krishna and P. Unni Krishnan performed at this fishing hamlet exclusively for the men and women of the seas.
எங்களோட தனித்தன்மையை எங்களால் இது பண்ண முடியுது. நாங்களும் இனிமேல் எங்கள் குப்பத்தில் இருந்து எங்கள் குப்பத்தை கௌரவிச்சதுனால எல்லாருமே இனிமேல் குப்போன்னு சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. அந்த பசங்ககிட்டயும் டேலண்ட் இருக்குது, அவங்களும் எல்லாத்தையும் வெளியே கொண்டு வருவாங்க அப்படின்றத நாங்கள் கற்றுக்கிட்டோம்.
There is also the idea that those art forms are greater than some other art forms. All these things have to be, I believe, seriously challenged and addressed. And everybody has a right to have access to every kind of music. It doesn't matter where you come from. So whether it's a fisherman's kuppam like this or whether it is Mylapore, I think each person has a right to access every art. And the idea also is to change the context of the art forms.
The event not only saw the classical dance and music, but also had performances of traditional art forms of Kataikuttu, Villu Pattu Parayatham, which are not performed in the sabhas.
Fisher folk a favor by exposing them to Carnatic music. We're doing Carnatic music a favor by exposing them to a new audience. Because in the absence of new audience, there is absence of new critique. In the absence of new critique, there's a death of arts.
While the fisher folk believe just one event wouldn't change the mindsets of people, a majority of them believe the first lyrics have been penned for a new song. With Shrisha Reddy in Chennai, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Now, what happens when four legends of Indian cinema come together? Well, there is talk and there's also a lot of music. That's what happened when Amitabh Bachchan, Kamal Haasan, Rajinikanth and Ilayaraja came together to celebrate 1000 films of music maestro Ilayaraja.
The music launch of Amitabh Bachchan and Dhanush starrer Amitabh turned into a grand affair with luminaries like Rajinikanth, Kamal Haasan and Amitabh Bachchan present under one roof. The three superstars celebrated the landmark completion of 1000 films of iconic music composer Ilayaraja. And he has composed music for all these three actors in the past.
Mr. Raja has become a part of my life. Out of this 1000, about 10% belongs to me.
We used to gossip a lot. We used to, to be frank with you, we had drinks till morning.
There is a certain kind of divinity whenever we meet Rajasan. Something very divine, something godly.
Celebrations did not stop here. Amitabh Bachchan's performance to the song Pidli from the film was another surprise added to this starry evening. While Jaya Bachchan and writer Gulzar unveiled the music, producer Abhishek Bachchan and wife Aishwarya were also present. Shamitabh releases on the 6th of Feb and we have to wait and watch if the film turns out to be as memorable as this evening. With Roshni Agarwal, Rakshpali Kishi for Headlines Today.